in the last 6 months, we've certainly ramped up our profile. And at the Labor Business Forum, where I spoke to 3 or 4 ministers, also spoke to the Prime Minister. Now, that wouldn't have happened at any given stage where a Conservative gets the chance to speak to a Labor Prime Minister and talk about the problems associated in the vegetable growing sector. So that's the sort of impact that we're gaining, that they know who we are and who we represent, and we've actually got a seat at the table. So yes, there are a lot of issues to be resolved, but at least they're starting to listen to us.
Welcome back to the Vegalogue podcast, a dialogue about the Australian vegetable industry from AUSVEG. I'm Alex Lashchuk. The Australian vegetable, potato and onion industries currently face a range of operating challenges, threatening the viability of growers who supply 98% of the fresh vegetable produce bought and consumed in Australia. Bill Bulmer is a dedicated advocate for vegetable, potato and onion growers, drawing on his experience as a respected third-generation vegetable farmer and owner of Bulmer Farms in Victoria. He holds the position of Chair of AUSVEG and is also a member of several committees, including the AUSVEG VIC Executive Committee and the Hort Innovation Vegetable Strategic Investment Advisory Panel. Join us as we recap on 2024 and delve into the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for Australian horticulture in 2025. Well, good morning, Bill. It's great to have you on a podcast.
Oh, thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here.
The AUSVEG Vegetable Industry Sentiment Survey shows that 1 in 2 growers are considering leaving the industry in the next 12 months. Based on your discussions with growers, is this what you're hearing around the industry?
It certainly is. In the last 18 months, the survey data that we've collected has consistently stated there's been between 30 and 37% of people within the industry that would exit the industry. Talking to growers as we travel around the country, actually, in a lot of growing areas, that number is even higher. The trouble is that a lot of vegetable growers that would like to exit in the industry don't have the capacity to get out. One, they're either in debt, or the fact that they've built up a business and it's in a vegetable growing region, you just can't swap into another industry like growing cattle or something, because they're very intense regions where we do grow vegetables. So it's a real concern as we move forward that this number is still resonating at around the 30 to 40% mark of people that want to exit the industry.
From your perspective, what were some of the most pressing issues facing vegetable, potato and onion growers over the past year, and how were they addressed?
Well, most pressing issues, as usual, it has been since COVID, is labour. It's still a big issue in a lot of areas. It's starting to ease off a little bit now, but the Working Holiday Maker program, whether we get that 88 days extension is concerning to especially some of the outlying regional areas. Governments keep playing with the palm scheme, or fiddling with the palm scheme, I should say, in various things. So the complexities in running the palm scheme now is very onerous on a lot of businesses, and as we've seen within this 12 months, a lot of people actually starting to pull back out of the palm scheme. So that's on the labour side of issues that are affecting the industry. But of course, and then the next big one is compliance. Each year, each month, we seem to be burdened more with compliance in running business. It is extremely tiring and frustrating. As I say, most of our growing regions are in regions that find it very hard to attract HR personnel and people of higher school in management that we need to look after the other side of the business, not just the growing side of the business. And then, of course, the inputs, all our input costs keep rising. Fuel, energy is becoming a big issue for most, not only growers, but for most people across the country.
AUSVEG has done a lot of work this year identifying and measuring some of the specific issues facing the vegetable, potato and onion growers it represents. We've also seen the development recently where the AUSVEG board has decided not to renew its membership of the NFF Horticulture Council. Can you speak a little bit to that decision and how a peak industry body with the scale of AUSVEG weighs up its need to advocate for the growers it directly represents on their key issues, while also considering its position in the wider horticulture sector?
So from the inception of the Hort Council, probably 4 or 5 years back now, we were the instigators of bringing the Hort Council together. And it was so we had a collective voice. But as the years have unfolded, and in the last 12 months, it's certainly highlighted the fact that we need to speak with one voice. But AUSVEG has taken the view that we've ramped up our advocacy space, and a lot of the issues that we're addressing is a duplication between what we're saying and what the Hort Council has been saying. And in a period where time is of the essence, the duplication has become a bit of an issue. We also have problems where some of our policies don't actually align with what the NFF Hort Council is aligned to, and we've seen a little bit of conflict in our advocacy work to the position of the NFF Hort Council. So we've taken the decision that due to the fact that we're in a position where we can advocate, and we do strongly on behalf of the vegetable, onion, and potato industries, that we will cease our membership with the NFF Hort Council and continue our advocacy in our own space. Time, as I said, is of the essence of, and resourcing the multiple amounts of advocacy groups and roles that people want you to play is certainly draining on not only AUSVEG but a lot of industry bodies. So, we've certainly still have an alliance with the NFF. They'll make policy decisions that we'll agree with and probably disagree with as well as we go forward. But in this instance, we believe that our advocacy work over the last 18 months to 12 months has put us in a very strong position, and we're keen to lead that under our own banner.
This year has seen AUSVEG really ramp up its direct advocacy efforts on behalf of Australia's vegetable, potato and onion growers. Can you talk us through the approach to that, as well as some of the key developments and outcomes?
So probably about 12 months ago, we engaged a lobbyist group out of Canberra, Premier National. Now, whatever the government is of the day, we have to work with. But since Labor has come into power, it's been probably a difficult space, one, to get meetings with various different ministers that we need to engage with, and two, a Labor government doesn't have a lot of people that actually come from a regional area. So we engaged with our lobbyist group, who in this last 12 months has certainly built our profile and built the awareness of AUSVEG in Canberra. So it was a slow start, but in the last 6 months, we've certainly ramped up our profile. We've had numerous meetings with lots of ministers, and we don't just deal with one minister. There's a multiple amount of ministers that we have to deal with in this space. It's not just agriculture; it's immigration, border force. So to get to these people, we've used the expertise of the lobbying group to give us the inroad. We've made, as I said, a lot of gains, and Michael and myself, Michael Coote, the CEO of AUSVEG, and Lucy Gregg and myself were in Sydney only last week, and at the Labor Business Forum, where I spoke to 3 or 4 ministers, also spoke to the Prime Minister. Now, that wouldn't have happened at any given stage where a Conservative gets the chance to speak to a Labor Prime Minister and talk about the problems associated in the vegetable growing sector. So I had 5 minutes with him, which is pretty good time. Seem you only usually get about 30 seconds to a minute to speak to a Prime Minister, but he was very obliging and took on my questions. And so that's the sort of impact that we're gaining, that when we walk into that forum, people said, "Oh, you're the people from AUSVEG. You're the vegetable growers." So you can take that with a grain of salt any way you like, but what it does say to the broader community is that they know who we are and who we represent, and we've actually got a seat at the table. So yes, there are a lot of issues to be resolved, but at least they're starting to listen to us. So probably one of the strongest things that we put all the labour issues and input costs, all those things to one side. Probably the biggest thing we're facing and the challenge for Australia now is the lack of consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables. we've got to the stage where our daily average consumption is down to 1.8 serves, which is totally inadequate for to have a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. And the data we've gained out of the work in the last 5 years in the 1+1 campaign is that if we don't reverse the trend, we will see our children, our grandchildren actually becoming sicker and dying earlier than their parents or their grandparents. This is such a worrying state of affairs for the government. And it's one of the highlights we've been putting to the government, that through a coordinated national campaign, if we can increase the serves by just 1 serve per day, it would eliminate about 1.5 billion off the bottom health line nationally for Australia, and also the great health benefits it would achieve for their community. So that's probably a big thing that we're advocating on and campaigning on. It's hopefully it's going to be a big campaign. It's not just led by AUSVEG. It's there's probably 50 odd different companies that are involved. We also got the retail sector on board. Like everyone knows, you should eat healthy, but we don't. But so how do we do it? And so briefly, maybe it is it's got to be an education program there as well. And so hopefully we'll start off educating the little ones, primary school, even kindergarten. Sooner they can work out that eating fruit and veg is a great part of daily life, I think we'll start to turn the tables, but it will take a long time to do so.
On National Ag Day in November, AUSVEG became the first major national agricultural peak body to release its 2025 federal election priorities. What is the intention behind these? What is AUSVEG seeking? And how will AUSVEG be engaging with politicians leading into the election in seeking commitments?
We've developed 4 key pillars in our election priorities. Probably going back 12 months, we've worked through a process where what have we identified that we need as an industry? And I think we came up with about 65 different things that we would like or to be addressed. Now, you can't just go to the government with a whole wish list and say, here we go, this is what we want. So we worked through this process and we condensed that down into about 21 different commodities. And then we've condensed that down further to 4 major themes that we believe that if we can put to the government, and hopefully by doing it and doing it early, that they've got time to look at it. And we have done that. We've presented to the government, and they're quite thankful that it got in early, because like everyone, they run on a budget. There's no point presenting something just before an election and hopefully you're going to get something. So probably our 4 key areas were secure supply, skills and workforce stability, structural supports for business, sustainable future. Now, under each of those headings, there is different components that we'd like to address. And, for one, the secure supply, there's, $125 million over 5 years for the 1+1 campaign. If we could get some funding in that space, that would help run that campaign. Food security. Food security is a major concern within this country, and food insecurity. There's way too many people that can't afford or are not eating a proper meal per day. And so working with the government of the day, whoever they may be, is something we want to see if we can change that outcome, where people actually have the ability to buy fruit and vegetables and protein and have a daily meal instead of relying on food banks and that of the like. Workforce, as I said, workforce is another one. Migration, we need to be looking in that space as well. Business, we need a lot of support in business. We, as I said before, compliance is a big issue. Any support that the government can help either through AUSVEG or direct to businesses in the horticulture sector would be welcome. As I was saying, that the complexities of running a business now is very onerous. So we want to make sure we're in front of the problems before they actually become a problem. And then, of course, sustainable future, biosecurity. As we know, we seem to run into an incursion on a monthly basis these days. It's not quite that, but it's when it does come, it's certainly a major impact, not only to the industry concerned, but to the states and how it disrupts businesses. right across the whole organisation.
As we've discussed, it has been a tough few years for growers in the vegetable, potato and onion industries, and indications are that that will continue into 2025. How do you see next year playing out? What will some of the big issues be, and what hope do you have that things might get better?
Well, probably just to reiterate, that part of the discussion we've had so far is that I think 2025 will be still a very tough year. Probably the first biggest issue will be the federal election and the outcome of that. We know that the government of the day, if they're re-elected, there'll be more industrial reform in that space, which puts more pressure on businesses. That's a concern. We're still, as I said, we've still got concerns in labour space. Whether we get another avenue through an ag visa is something that needs to be discussed, again, with whoever the government is. But so I think we've already had some unseasonal weather patterns. The humidity up and down the eastern seaboard towards the end of this year has been incredibly bad in all states. So that's caused problems, especially on a lot of the soft leafy product that grow up and down the eastern seaboard this time of the year. Big rains just this week in Tasmania probably caused some damage. But going into next year, I think we'll still have the same issues that are facing us for the last 12 months. Just the cost of doing business is going to be incredibly difficult. The demand on product is still something that seems to be lacking. The lack of demand across the board seems to be affecting everyone at the moment. Just the downturn in product. I'm not sure where that is actually situated or why it's been driven. Is it being driven by the cost of living and people turning to different products, frozen product, pastas? I'm not sure, but the fresh products sales seem to be down across the board. Hopefully on a more brighter note, that Mother Nature does shine upon us and give everyone a reasonable season coming into the next 12 months. Besides that, I think, it's still a good industry. We shouldn't get down and out. We are producers of the freshest and cleanest product, anywhere I think in the world. Our standards are exemplary. We should take pride, and I think we do take pride in the products that we do grow in this country. I think the development of innovation and technology that we've talked about for the last decade is probably on our doorstep now. I think in the next 12 months to 2 years, we'll see some exciting outcomes in that space. There again, it's great to have the newest and the shiniest bit of gear going around, but it is expensive to buy into, and we still need people to run it. But I think that will change the dynamics of a lot of farms as we move forward into the next year or two. So we can just keep hoping that our advocacy work brings us some results that, once again, the government of the day, whoever they may be, sees the value in horticulture and what it delivers for this country, and the better outcome that it has for the community as a whole.
Well, Bill, thank you for summing up the year for us.
Well, thanks, Alex. Let's hope that 2025 brings us a brighter and happier new year. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Vegalogue podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and give the podcast a rating and review to help others find us. Vegalogue is produced by AUSVEG, the peak industry body for Australian vegetable, potato and onion growers. You can find more news and information from AUSVEG at ausveg.com.au, on our social media channels, or in the Australian Grower magazine. Thank you for listening.